Welcome to the deep dive. Here we take your sources and we really distill the most important insights. The goal is to help you get truly well informed. Today we're diving deep into something really fundamental in Islam, the daily prayers. Namaz or Salah. We're going to unpack its centrality, why it's considered compulsory, what the spiritual side of things is, if it's missed, and even look at the philosophy behind the timing.
Indeed. And this is a great opportunity, I think, to explore not just the what of Islamic prayer, but really the why. Why is this one of the most consistent, vital practices in the Muslim faith? And we'll be drawing directly from the text you've provided, looking at the spiritual meaning, the practical benefits, maybe even some surprising details you haven't thought about.
Okay, so let's get right into it then. Our sources call namaz one of the most fundamental principles of Islam and so important a duty. So what exactly is this daily prayer? What makes it so central?
Well, what's really fascinating, I think, is how the sources talk about it. They emphasize prayer as this constant, conscious expression of our inherent weakness as human beings and our continuous need for Allah's help, like every moment.
Hmm.
It's not framed as a demand, you see, but more as a profound kind of thanksgiving.
Hmm.
So when things are good, in happiness, it's about acknowledging Allah, thanking Him for His bounties. And when you're facing challenges, misery, it becomes this humble invocation, asking for His mercy, His support.
Oh, okay.
And this really shifts the whole perspective. The sources say the purpose of worship is the good of worshipers themselves.
Mhm.
So it's less about, ticking a box, fulfilling an obligation,
Right.
and much more about embracing a spiritual discipline, something that truly benefits the person praying. They even call it a spiritual diet. They actually say it's more necessary than the physical diet for real well-being.
Wow, a spiritual diet.
Yeah.
That's a really powerful way to put it. It makes it sound essential, like nourishment for your own benefit. So deeply practical for keeping that connection with the divine going. And it's interesting, you mentioned the sources comparing it. They draw this line to Christian teachings, right?
Mhm.
Saying what Christ taught in words about living by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God.
Mhm.
Well, that was kind of reduced to a practical form by the Holy Prophet when he ordered prayers 5 times a day. It connects the idea to actual daily practice.
Yes. And that brings up a really important question. One many people probably wonder about, is this daily prayer really truly compulsory for all Muslims? The sources we have are remarkably clear on this, unequivocal really. They state this duty is imposed on everybody, whether child or old, whether man or woman, whether boy or girl. So very inclusive, universal with
Okay, go everyone.
everyone.
Yeah.
And the texts, they strongly assert that anyone who deliberately avoids 5 times prayers is a nominal Muslim. Now, that's not just a casual phrase. It suggests that while they might identify as Muslim, their commitment to this absolute foundation, well, it's seen as lacking.
Like nominal, just in name, maybe.
Kind of, yeah. It's considered such a vital command that the sources mention the Holy Prophet even on his deathbed.
Mhm.
He kept urging his followers, keep up salat, keep up the prayers. That really speaks to its absolute importance. It's not optional.
So if it's that fundamental, what do the sources say happens, spiritually speaking, if someone maybe abandons prayer or just neglects it for a long time? You mentioned nominal Muslim.
Yeah.
How do the texts elaborate on that?
Yeah, this is where the sources give a pretty stark spiritual warning, actually. They explain that such a person can never please God, who does not love him and who does not stoop down before him.
Hmm.
Now, this isn't really about God needing our worship, you see. It's more about the individual's own spiritual condition. By not praying, by not engaging, they weaken or even sever that connection.
Yeah.
And that leads to this profound sense of spiritual vulnerability. The texts actually highlight that if Allah stops from helping him for even one single moment, he will come to know how weak his existence is. It really underscores this idea that our existence, our strength, it's all contingent on divine support. Neglecting prayer makes that fragility very, very clear.
That really deepens the understanding. It's about recognizing your own weakness, your reliance on the divine. And, I've heard people talk about this as inner spirituality enough. Like, if you feel it inside, do you need the outward actions? Do the sources touch on that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They strongly counter that idea, the notion that inner feeling alone is sufficient. They call it an apparent lack of understanding. They state very directly, it is impossible that there is love in our hearts, but it does not express itself outside.
That's interesting.
It connects to just basic human experience, right? If you genuinely love someone, it shows. It comes out in your actions, your words, how you are around them. So in the same way these texts argue, genuine love and devotion for God will naturally, inevitably lead to outward acts of worship. And prayer is seen as the most important expression of that.
Right.
It emphasizes a holistic connection. The inside and the outside, they're intrinsically linked. You can't really separate them.
That's a really crucial point. It's about the whole connection, not just an internal vibe. So, okay, think about someone listening, maybe someone who feels they've neglected prayer for years. Our sources don't seem to lay out a specific, like, step-by-step method for repenting that specific thing.
Yeah.
But they do talk a lot about Allah's mercy, right? What do they tell us about the chance to return? Is that door open?
That emphasis on mercy is.
Yeah.
It's profound. And it's a really consistent theme in the sources. They clearly state Allah is forgiving, merciful, and that he will turn to them mercifully, which heavily implies, yes, the door to repentance, to reconnecting, it's always open. It's never presented as too late to turn back.
That's reassuring.
And the sources even give this inspiring example. The Holy Prophet himself reportedly sought forgiveness 100 times a day. Now, the understanding isn't that he was sinning, but rather demonstrating continuous humility, always seeking closeness to Allah. It just underscores that repentance is this ongoing process, self-correction, returning to the divine. And it's available to anyone who sincerely wants it.
That does offer a very hopeful perspective, doesn't it? A path back. Okay, let's shift gears just a bit. Why 5 times a day, specifically 5? Our sources give this really fascinating reason, tying it to natural cycles, daily rhythms. They mention 5 remarkable changes occurring during the 24 hours every day. Can you elaborate on that? What's the spiritual meaning tied to each time?
Yes, this is a truly beautiful and deeply philosophical aspect. The timing isn't just random. It's woven into the fabric of life, of nature itself. So the sources explain the first prayer too. That comes afternoon. It's when the sun, which kind of symbolizes human strength, worldly brightness, it starts to decline.
Oh,
So it's a reminder of human weakness, the fleeting nature of worldly glory, and it prompts us to seek divine mercy. Then the second prayer, Asra, that's when the sun is losing its brightness, signaling night is approaching. This period reflects life's challenges, the struggles we face. And the prayer becomes a plea for Allah's help, for patience through those tough times. Then comes the third prayer, Maghrib, right at sunset. The day turns into night. Perfect gloom falls, as the sources put it. This is seen as a moment to recognize how helpless we are facing the unknown, invoking Allah's protection as we enter darkness, both literally and, metaphorically.
Right, makes sense.
The fourth prayer, Isha, is when night has fully arrived. The deep darkness here symbolizes the miseries, the calamities that are part of life. So this prayer is a really poignant moment, beseeching Allah not to abandon us in difficult days, seeking solace, seeking strength.
And the last one?
And finally, yes, the fifth prayer, Fajr. It arrives with the bright, cheerful morning after 12 hours of gloom. This return of light from darkness, it symbolizes renewal, hope, a new beginning. It's a powerful reminder to reconnect with the Creator first thing, express gratitude for making it through the night, and seek guidance for the day ahead.
Oh.
So you see, each prayer isn't just a ritual, it's a conscious moment, acknowledging different facets of our existence, our weakness, our gratitude, our constant reliance on the Creator. It aligns our inner state with the world around us.
That's truly profound. Framing it as a conscious engagement with each part of the day, each part of life, and thinking beyond the personal prayer itself. The call to prayer, the adhan, our sources highlight that too, calling it educative and spiritualistic. They note, other religions might use bells or pipes or horns, but the Prophet chose the adhan, words that actually contain the core principles of the faith. What makes that call so significant?
Well, yes, and that raises an important point about understanding the adhan. It's not just noise, it's a living declaration. Spoken words. It starts, Allah Akbar, meaning Allah is the greatest. And our sources actually explain that the entire structure of Islam is fundamentally based on that one sentence, the affirmation of God's absolute greatness.
Yeah.
Then comes, Ashhadu anna Muhammadur Rasulullah. I bear witness that Muhammad is the apostle of Allah, establishing the prophet's role. And after establishing those core beliefs, the call shifts to action. Hayya ala Salah, come to prayers, a direct invitation. And then Hayya Falah, come to goodness or prosperity. So it's really a complete message, isn't it? Not just a summons. It's a concise statement of belief and a call towards a life of spiritual well-being and success, proclaimed out loud for everyone.
It's interesting, too, the sources mention this historical misunderstanding. Some non-Muslims apparently thought the call included Emperor Akbar's name, which just shows how vital it is to know the actual words and their meaning.
That really deepens the appreciation for the adhan, yeah, as a full message, creed, and invitation combined. And just moving towards the practicalities again, our sources do address specific situations. For example, are there ever valid reasons, according to these texts, to actually miss a prayer?
Yes, there are specific allowances mentioned. The sources state clearly that women are instructed, quote, give up the prayer when your menses begin. And this, I think, highlights a really practical and compassionate aspect of Islamic law. It shows that even a duty this fundamental has specific, divinely ordained exceptions for natural human conditions. It ensures the obligations aren't meant to be an undue burden, but align with our capacity, our well-being.
Right. There's a wisdom built in. It's exactly a wisdom that considers the realities of human life.
So putting this all together, for someone trying to understand the spiritual commitment at the heart of Islam, it really sounds like namaz, prayer, it's so much more than just a ritual you check off. It's like a deeply ingrained discipline, isn't it? A constant recognition of your relationship with the divine, and maybe a path to transforming yourself.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. It's about consciously, actively nurturing that connection every single day. And seeing prayer not as some heavy burden imposed from outside, but as a profound benefit to the worshiper, a means for spiritual growth, for finding inner peace, for constantly engaging with gratitude and humility. The sources keep coming back to this core idea. Embracing these principles is essential for individual growth and even for collective advancement. It's like a blueprint for living life in conscious remembrance of the Creator.
This deep dive, it really does highlight how namaz is seen as, well, far more than just going through the motions. It's a vital connection, a discipline, a pathway to peace, really central to a Muslim's identity and spiritual health.
Indeed. And if you connect that to the bigger picture, it underscores how pretty much every aspect of Islamic teaching, from these daily practices like prayer, right up to broader concepts about life, it's all designed ultimately for the good of worshipers themselves. It really makes you think, doesn't it? How does that kind of conscious, repeated engagement with gratitude, with humility, with seeking divine mercy, how does it transform not just one person's spiritual state, but maybe the whole feeling, the consciousness of a community? That's perhaps something for you, the listener, to ponder, to explore further on your own.